Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have Dr. Jan Prins, PhD, the Director of Swimming Biomechanics, and he is a faculty member at the University of Hawaii. He serves as the founder and director of the Aquatic Research Laboratory. Dr. Prins teaches sports biomechanics. He is also editor-in-chief of the Journal of Swimming Research, and he owns a private company called Swimming Biomechanics, which has just launched a video on-demand program on freestyle biomechanics. Welcome, Jan. I'm going to say this, it's safe to say that you know swimming. Is that correct?
Well, you're very kind, John. You're making me blush. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. I know we've had a relationship a long time from when we worked in Indiana with Doc Counsilman, and I gained such great insight and respect for your work and you as a person. Let's go ahead and we're going to be discussing something really important to our community today, which are the 4 levels that we call kind of 4 levels of swimming, and how each level plays an important role in the process for our community to grow. So I'm going to share my screen here and show everybody what we're looking at. And so we have these 4 different layers or levels that we say, and it says FM closes the gap, and it's the bridge between science and the pool. And what we're really talking about is on the top level, right? The highest level, we have amazing people like you that are great scientists and researchers and super experts in the world of swimming, huge backgrounds and amazing ideas. And we want to get that from there, from that high level to the pool, which is right in the minds of the swimmers. And they say that the 2 most valuable things you'll ever possess are your ideas and your time, right? So if you have great ideas and you're 99 years old and tomorrow's your last day on earth, you may not have the time to carry them out, right? But if you have all the time in the world, let's say you're 14, 15 years old, and you have no ideas, you have nothing to carry out. So the idea today is to gain some great ideas and continue to do that. And with incredible minds like yourself, that's what we want to do. We want to get it from sometimes the lab, the research labs, whether it's a pool or whatever it happens to be, and down into the swimming pool in the minds of these swimmers. So we have the coaches that are helping those swimmers. And they're limited by time. They can't sift through all the research sometimes and try to find out what's appropriate. And sometimes it's not put in a way that they can easily understand it and say, how do I help my swimmer with this? And so they need clarifications, new ideas, how to implement them. Where fluid mechanics a lot of times will come in is we're an interpreter, what we call a visual interpreter. And so what we do is, you can see here in this picture, right, with the swimmer, that we have identify different areas and say, okay, push hard here. And so we take that great information, put it into a really easy to deliver package and get it into the minds of the swimmers. Now you work and you have some amazing things that you do. You have specialized cameras. You can cut this into shreds and understand things that other people would be more guessing at. Is that right?
Well, I think, John, you have hit the nail on the head. The biggest problem with trying to get the word out is there are people, the jump from us to the coaches has been very hard. And so you are, with fluid mechanics, you are really an essential part of this whole process. And it is, long overdue from to the way I look at it, because we can't, lots of times the coaches don't want to hear from the researchers. And so you are really fulfilling a very important role.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We are, if we can close this gap, huge, incredible things are actually going to get down into use. And I know that the researchers in swimming, because it's not a huge money thing. I mean, if you're going to go into research and you want to make a lot of money, you could go into research for a lot of different things, such as chemicals and things like this that might make a lot of money. But the people that are in the swimming research field are passionate about what they do, because they could be using those skills somewhere else. They're using it for our community's benefit. And we need to take advantage of that incredible work. And they want, if I'm right, Jan, you tell me, most of them out there, don't they want it into the water with the swimmer?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. John, you being a swimmer, at the highest level, you can appreciate this. I think the difference now is that the technology has got to a point where we can make things a little more understandable
Right.
and taking the guesswork out.
Right. And we can get it. It's like you said, it's more understandable. We can get it to the people so it's usable. And this is going to change everything. In
Exactly.
addition, I think the cost in some ways is going down to be able to communicate. And that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
Got it. So we're going to go down here and just show, because when you got the Journal of Swimming Research and you realize there's a lot of different areas you can research and a lot of different ways that we can attack the problem. And Doc Counsilman used to use the idea of what's called the X factor, right? Separating the wheat, which is the most important, from the chaff, which is kind of the garbage, and focusing on that. How important would you say that is, Jan?
Oh, without the X factor, goodbye. You can know. There's a lot of people who know a lot of stuff about swimming, but they don't know how to put it in practical terms, John. And that's where the X factor comes in.
And you must see that a lot. I mean, in where you're the head of the Journal of Swimming Research, a lot of people like to research just to research, but maybe not to solve the problems, right?
Exactly. And this is why that journal, I specifically designed it so there is a coach's version. So the people who are publishing the manuscript, they have to write a separate version for the coaches, take away all the details with tables and all that stuff and say why it's applicable for coaching.
Got it. So you basically have a streamlined process here to get it from, okay, here's the research that is easy for people that are in research to understand, but we need to get it so it's to the point where people can actually, on the deck that are using it, that aren't in the research field, can actually say, okay, this is what we can do with this, and this will really help solve our problems.
Exactly. And the review board for the coaches are separate, John. We have a review board for the technical part of it, and then I have a separate review board that we have wonderful people who are coaches saying whether the article makes sense or not to coaches.
Wow, that's fantastic. So here we have the basic areas that Doc Counsilman used to kind of teach us as here are the major cornerstones. One is fuels like sleep, hydration, nutrition, and oxygen. That's one of the contributors, right? And then we have energy systems. In energy systems, we have the endurance system, right? We try to make it nice and simple, the endurance, speed, and explosivity. So that strawberry somebody ate yesterday is traveling through one of those three systems, depending on what they're doing. If they're running a marathon, it's trying to fuel that. But if they're jumping out of the way of an oncoming bus, it's going through the explosive system, right?
Yeah, very good.
And that's delivered over to the muscle, and the muscle contracts around the bones. And the bones, that's where, right? That's where we're talking about technique, right? How you move your skeleton.
Exactly. And remember, it's a learned skill. What we are selling is a learned skill. Right. Somebody has to know how to teach how to do it correctly. Nobody who was born swimmer swims perfectly. This is like golf and tennis, John. It's a learned skill.
Gotcha. And so from there, that technique gets you to where you want to go. And the whole question is, do you know where you want to go and how to get there? And we see that as the mind. Right. Exactly. And then from there, synergy is how you put it all together, and synergizing it is really important.
No, very concise. Excellent.
And we say something kind of hokey, but it really makes a lot of sense to us, is you have to swim in a star to be one.
Oh, no, like I said, very concise and clear. Excellent.
Right. So if you're just, for instance, swimming and you're just great at technique, that doesn't make you a great swimmer yet, right? But that's one of the key factors in helping.
Right.
Got it. So now in here, you can see these kind of steps of these stars. We're going to go down here and understand this. And now we're going to find out where your team really feeds this pipeline. So when we look at this, this is called developing your athlete. It's the developmental pipeline. And what we say is endless laps aren't the solution. You have to start to make changes, right? When we look at Einstein's theory of, right, what is it called? The theory of insanity, I guess he called it. But it's doing the same thing over and over again. and expecting a different result. That's not going to happen.
Exactly.
And so there's 4 steps in development, which is the first one is learn it, which means learn something new. Then you can fix it. You can correct your actions to match your new knowledge, your new controls, we call them. And cement it is do it over and over again. A lot of times they say practice makes perfect, but I don't agree. I think practice makes permanent. So whatever it is you're practicing doing over and over again, if you're doing it wrong, you're going to get really good at doing it wrong.
Very good.
Right. So practice is not a perfecting, it's a permanentizing aspect, and then use it, and you use it in a race. So learn it, fix it, cement it, and use it. Now, what we see very often, Jan, is that there's these 4 steps, and the first 2 steps a lot of times get grayed out in a team. They go to practice and they cement it, and then they go to a race and use it. Then they come back and they go to the practice. So whatever you do in practice, you get more familiar with, you do it more frequently. And what happens is you eventually plateau because you get really good at doing whatever it is you're doing. But where do you guys come in is right here on the green step to feed new information that we've never heard before. Right. And is that what you guys do?
Yes, absolutely. But let me interject something, John. One of the problems with swimming is that the movements are so subtle. Unless somebody is really paying attention, we don't know things are going wrong. Golf and tennis, the ball isn't going to go where you go, instant feedback. But in swimming, just like you said, we can keep repeating subtle mistakes, and they're getting ingrained the more we do it. So we come in and say, okay, the subtle mistakes are because of certain things. And we start by saying those certain things are very evident when we look at the more detail.
Got it. So the first couple steps, right, are fed from the research and the science that we learn new ways, right? If we're going to progress over time, and I think we've got a long ways to progress from here. Absolutely. I don't think we're anywhere close to perfect. I think there's a lot of growth and development to occur. So your research is so important for us to make that progress. And like you said, if it's the little details, we're not going to know them, but you are.
Exactly. Well, we are fortunate now to be able to use the technology, John. High-speed cameras filming, we film at 100 frames a second. And that picks up things that you can't get with regular video, which is at 30 frames a second. The subtleties and using the special software allows us to identify these things that go wrong that we can't really catch with the naked eye.
So you have more than 3 times the frames that everybody else is. So you can see the tiny details as it moves.
Absolutely. And tracking their movements and seeing how they drop off, even with the slightest deviation in movement, is really exciting.
And how do you feel like some of those, like those details impact? How can they impact our swimmers?
Oh, you know, if a swimmer can see what they're doing, I won't mention names, but there was a world-class swimmer that went to the Olympic Training Center and was told that his right arm was not as good as his left arm. And they tested him on land, and sure enough, and he knew, being a world-class swimmer, that something was wrong with his right hand, swimming freestyle, but he didn't know exactly what it was. And when we filmed him at high speed, he had a 20% drop off on the velocity he was generating with his right versus his left. So every stroke cycle, he was losing 20% on one arm.
Wow. And so what we're going to do in some of these other sessions that are following this session that we're launching is we're going to be discussing not only just the word velocity, but what it means to have velocity, where you measure in the body, everything like this. In fact, if I'm right, you have a show out right now that you made. What can you tell us a little bit about your show? Well,
thank you. We started with freestyle, so we call it freestyle biomechanics, and we've broken it up into the steps, the different. We have it's 16 sections, and many of those sections, John, we introduced the high-speed video to show where things go right and where things go wrong, and that's what the program is. It's a video on demand program, freestyle biomechanics. Wow, and that's absolutely fantastic. I've seen some of those videos that you have, and they're not like real long, drawn out things. They make the point
you can learn something and you can move it into your team, or you can move it in as a swimmer right away. And how long did it take you to make these videos?
Well, the whole program, I mean, I have almost 35 years of video, but it took about 4 years to put together. And I think a lot of people have seen it, John, say that one of the important things with this is that we have a list of the mistakes, the common mistakes with each section. And those mistakes are real swimmers that we filmed over the years. They're not somebody just faking them.
Right.
And that has been a major, selling point.
That way you can get a focal point of, like, if you're having this problem, here's what you can do, and here's where you can find the issue.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I leave it to the coaches to correct it. I don't want to get into the coaches' business. We're showing them what goes right and how some of the common mistakes can make a difference. And then I leave it to the coaches, because coaches have different ways of approaching, how to work on these things.
Right, right. So I'm going to show you really quickly. We're going to share screen again, and I'm going to show you how you can get a chance to actually see that video if you have an interest in that, because I think it'll be huge benefit. And starting with freestyle is a big deal, because all of us have to swim freestyle, right? No matter what our specialty stroke is. And so let's go ahead and share that screen. Here it is. And so to get here, real easy, you just go to fluidmechanics.net. And once you go in there, here we go. I'll show you how to get right in there. And you go to our fast track, and you can go to the fast track demo. You can go right in here under experts, scroll down, and here's Dr. Jan Prins. You can click in here, and there it is. And you can purchase it right there. It's very inexpensive, but it's completely worth it. This is huge amount of research, and it's an incredible program. Well, so that's a great thing. Again, fluidmechanics.net. Go over to your FM Fast Track demo, and you can go right in here. And there's Dr. Prins. If you have an FM Fast Track membership already, you get a discount in there. But either way, it's a really fantastic program.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jan. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next show.
Excellent. Look forward to it. Thank you.